Hello, this is wmpyr here to talk about the OODA Loop. The OODA Loop, which is OODA and then loop, it stands for Observe, Orient, Decide, and Act. My friend in college, I got to give him all the credit here. He is an instructor for Tripwire, Mr. Hyman. And I did an interview video with him a little while back. And he, like I said, is an instructor for Tripwire, which is a self-defense method. And it comes from, the origins is the South African Piper knife method. And Piper is essentially a way to assault another human being with a knife. And so Tripwire is the counter Piper method, essentially. So he is certified, he is a certified instructor in Tripwire, and his teacher was talking about the OODA Loop. So he brought it to my attention, and yeah, we've been talking a little bit about this, the OODA Loop idea, which comes from a U.S. Air Force colonel who is a U.S. Air Force pilot. We're talking about a jet fighter or a fighter jet that, imagine in the movie Top Gun, right, where you have two fighter jets or more going after each other, and this colonel was able to outmaneuver and outdestroy the enemy jets. And the reason is because of the OODA Loop, okay? And so from my understanding, essentially this is a way of thinking. It is a way of creating a strategy. And this could be used for anything you do in life. That's my belief. But of course, we're talking about it in terms of combat, right? So the idea here is the guy who has the better OODA Loop is going to have the advantage in a combat situation. So I've said to you guys before that in a self-defense situation or in any combat situation, I want to make it into skill and strategy versus whatever they have. So they're probably going to bring in brute strength, power, aggression, those kinds of things to the table. And I don't want to match them with that. I don't want to play that game. I don't want to see who's meaner, who's stronger, who's more aggressive, who's faster. I don't want to play that kind of game. What the game that I'm playing is skill and strategy. So essentially that falls into the category of the OODA Loop. And when I look back into my martial arts training, I did a lot of cross training. So meaning I wanted to experience as many styles as I could. So I didn't really stay in one style for a very long time. And I knew that if I did that, the quality is not going to be good for me because I don't have the time to develop a long time, to stick with one school. So I'm going to be, because I want to see this style, I want to see that style. It's just too much fun for me, and I need to do that. So that was the way that I enjoyed martial arts and learned it. And when you do that, it can be very confusing because you're learning all this different kinds of methods. And then I also did a lot of traditional martial arts. So you're doing horse dances and katas, these forms that don't make any sense. At least it didn't make sense to me at the time. Maybe 5 years later, it started to understand. But at the moment, I was like, I don't know how to use this. And then training in some pretty mystical styles like Aikido, going, I have no idea how to use this against this boxer right here, But the one thing that grounded me together was, even though I enjoyed doing all that and training all that, and I did, and to this day I teach traditional martial arts. But what helped me make sense out of all this and helped me stay focused was essentially the OODA Loop. I didn't know that I had one, but I did. Because I was fighting. I was going through challenge matches and I was testing myself out in full contact sparring and fighting. So I always put that above everything else. And some things I understood. I may not understand now. Maybe later I will. So right now, just do it. But as for fighting, I'm not going to use it because it doesn't make sense to me right now. So for fighting now, I had my OODA loop. And in the early 90s, it was simple. If anyone that did grappling understood that if you take the opponent to the ground, that's your world. You're going to be good there, you know, and the other person's at a disadvantage if you're a grappler. However, you see these other guys and they can stand up strike. You're going, man, that guy has a very lethal looking kick. He hits very hard. That's scary. Okay, so right there immediately, all the grapplers understood there's two worlds. So they're already creating this OODA loop to operate within those two worlds. How can I take him out of his world and put him into my world? Whereas to the stand-up striker at the time only had one world, which was the stand-up striking. Oh, if he gets close, I'm going to do this. If he tries to take me down, he's not even thinking about the ground. I could elbow the guy and I'm good. So his OODA loop sucks. And that's why in the early UFCs, none of the stand-up strikers did well against the grapplers. And all the grapplers dominated in the early UFCs. Simple. They had a better OODA loop. They respected the stand-up strikers. They were like, I need to somehow not get hit, not get my nose broken, not get my teeth knocked out. I need to figure out. So just the mentality alone gave them a better OODA loop. And now later, you watch the UFC evolve a little bit more, we saw that there's not just two, there's three. So you had the stand-up fighting, the clinch, and the ground. Okay, so some fighters like Randy Couture utilized the clinch very well, and he pretty much wore you out, took you out in the clinch, and by the time you got to the ground, you're done. You know, or maybe even if you survive the ground, he's beating you in the clinch the whole time. So he's not the best stand-up striker, but in the clinch, he's like one of the best in the world. So, you know, he would take you out of your game, and that's what it's all about. It's about avoiding the opponent's game and putting him into your game. So how do you do that? You know, and you're creating this strategy essentially so that the opponent is now in a world that they're unfamiliar with and they're just reacting to it. And therefore, they're much easier to read and manipulate and defeat. But you, on the other hand, you also want to be reactionary, but not like that. You're reactionary because you're so practiced, because you're an autopilot, because you've done this so many times. Like I said, it's your world. So that means it's already pre-planned, pre-programmed. You already thought it out. So this is the same idea as like the judo guys, the Olympic judo guys that only have like 6 moves. Danaher, one of Renzo Gracie's black belt coaches, the leg lock expert, he was talking about defense-wise, you don't know what the opponent's going to do, so you want to have a broad base of defense. However, offense-wise, you want to narrow it down to he said 6 moves. He teach basically 6 moves, but they're deep. So when you get the opponent and boom, drop him into one of your OODA loops, it's deep, and the other guy is just going to be outclassed. He's not going to be as familiar as you are in that OODA loop. So you take him out there, you know. So that is that's what we're doing here. That is the idea. So you say right here, I guess it's how well you know yourself as a martial artist. Exactly. It's how well you know yourself in combat and how well the other guy knows themselves in combat, and you're just trying to put them out of their comfort zone into yours, into your world, and survive theirs and immediately change it to yours. So that's what the game is about. Take them into your strong points. And old school MMA had this, right? If the other guy's a stand-up striker, you beat him on the ground. And then if you're, if you're the stand-up striker, then and the other guy's a grappler, you beat him standing. So, you beat them where they're weak and fight them where you're strong, kind of thing. So it's not super old school MMA. This came out later on, but it wasn't the beginning. MMA wasn't like that, but it quickly became turned into this, you know. But now today, even though everybody has a weakness and has strengths, nobody is like completely clueless about one area. Whereas back in the day, you still had guys like that. So now the OODA loop is even tighter. You got to be able to operate within their OODA loops and stuff, you know. So within their game plan, you're going to see if their game plan is not as well thought out, you're going to see holes in there. So in what they thought that they were good at, you're going to see areas where you could take them out and now implement yours. And that's what this whole outmaneuvering your opponent and bring them into your world is all about. So this could be done with any technique. This, you know, and you are creating this whole strategy, and you know it like the back of your hand, and you already know what to expect from the opponent. And you know that these are the most common responses that they're going to do. So how do I take advantage of that and make sure that they don't recover? You know, so that is what the OODA loop is about, and that's essentially what we're all should be working on. If you're interested in making your martial arts, your style effective for you, then you need to be thinking in terms of OODA loop, and that is essentially is what I've been doing for a long time now. So that's why I've been very confident in my interpretation of the Filipino martial arts, is because I have a basic OODA loop that I've been working off of, which is the 4 ranges of combat, and that is long range, medium range, close range, and ground range. And you know, I know other people may have that in their, you know, in their practice, in their training, that they understand that there's 4 ranges. They might understand that, but how well do they understand the 4 ranges of combat? That's where I'm confident that I've gone deeper than a lot more people. So that's exactly what you want to be doing. And then as far as there's certain ranges that I stay away from, like medium range and ground range, you know, so then that allows me to focus even more in long range and close range. So that if we are in close range, or if we are in long range, excuse me, then I know that my OODA loop is going to be tighter, and my OODA loop will be deeper than theirs, you know. And there's a lot of fights on YouTube that you can watch, and when you watch these fights, it could be old school UFC, it could be today's modern stuff, it could be boxing, wrestling, judo, it could be street fights, it could be assault videos and stuff, prison videos, prison fights and stuff like that. It could be any of that stuff you could watch on YouTube, and when you do, try to view it from a OODA loop perspective. This is why this guy had the advantage. Oh, this other guy had no answer to this, and this is what the other guy wanted to do, you know, or he reacted in the wrong way. Why did he react in the wrong way? Because he was clueless, you know, he was panicking. That shot really hurt him, so it threw him off his game, you know. So if you view it that way, it starts to become very, very interesting. So try to view things from the OODA loop. OODA loop helps you see, if you start thinking in these terms, you start thinking deeper. You go, you know what? Wait a minute. He won by this move, but it was a trap. It was a setup. So you start to see the things that you don't, that's kind of like behind the lines, that you see the whole, you see more of the picture that way. You know, it's not just, oh, he knocked him out with a vicious elbow. Did you see that? No, it's like you start seeing like, oh, he set him up this way. Oh, guess what? He was doing that since round 1. Since round 1, that's why he was doing the kicks or whatever. So he was trying to take him to start looking downwards. But the whole time he wanted this elbow, you know. So then you start seeing, oh, man, that guy's OODA. And then if this guy had moved this way, it would have set him up for this other move, a spinning back kick or whatever. It's like, man, this guy's OODA loop is tight, you know. So you start seeing things that way. So anyway, I hope this helps. Please, you know, when you view fights, try to start viewing it from this kind of perspective. And look up the term OODA Loop, OODA. Look it up on Wikipedia. It's on there, and it goes into some pretty intense terminologies and stuff. But you'll get the overall idea. It's about its strategy. It's about, you know, making your opponent reactionary, and then you can throw in things to further confuse them and disorient them while you're still on your game plan. You know, that's the main idea right there. And so at the same time, that's what you should be working on. So make yours deep, very deep, no holes. You know, what if the other guy blocks like this? What if he blocks like this? You know, no holes. So you figure out all of that. You expect all of that. So when you see it, you encounter it, you go, been here 1,000 times. So anyway, that's it for now. Thank you for viewing, and take care, folks.